As part of its effort to educate barbering and beauty industry professionals on workers' rights and responsibilities, the Board of Barbering and Cosmetology developed and executed 2 town hall-style presentations, one in Northern California and one in Southern California, in the fall of 2017. The events featured presentations by board representatives as well as the California Department of Industrial Relations, Labor Commissioner's Office, and Division of Occupational Safety and Health, and the California Employment Development Department. Here's a snapshot.
One-stop shop.
Board Executive Officer Christy Underwood explained the board's role in promoting workers' rights awareness.
I want to welcome everybody to our second town hall meeting regarding understanding your workers' rights and responsibilities. The Board of Barbering and Cosmetology is happy to facilitate this type of town hall meeting to let licensees know about their rights as workers in our industry. Before we get started on our presentations, I just want to go over a couple things that the board has been doing. Of course, we're a consumer protection board, so we license the individuals working in the industry, and our top priority is consumer protection. However, the legislature has added to our purview awareness of workers' rights, and so we have our Health and Safety Committee who has worked on this topic, and we've produced several publications to help people understand that position. First of all is the Know Your Workers' Rights publication. This is available online. And you will now, if you are a licensee, whether you're an establishment owner or an individual licensee, you will be asked a question to acknowledge that you understand your workers' rights. So at each time you renew or initial as well, when you apply, you have to at least acknowledge under penalty of perjury that you understand your workers' rights. So that is what this publication was intended for. It's a lot of great information. It's right on our DCA Barber Cosmo webpage, so you can get that as well. And then we also have launched our CalSafe Salon portion on our website. And you can find lots of information on workers' rights as well as links to some of our presenters, departments that are with us today, and more information than just on workers' rights. There's also lots of information for consumers, on licensees. There's various videos that we're publishing, for instance, tips to stay fine-free. So we have all of that under our CalSafe Salon link. It's a button right on our homepage that you can go to and try to find all of our information that will help you in your everyday business.
Reina Fernandez and Gina Flores from the California Employment Development Department gave a presentation on understanding proper worker classification.
Our objectives for today is to discuss the importance of proper worker classification. Of course, the big question is always whether someone is an employee or an independent contractor, and we'll go through that. Also define common law and statutory employment. Common law are those factors that we look at the actual working relationship when we audit a business, and then we interview employees. Of course, we interview the employer, and then we make a determination of whether someone is employee or an independent contractor. And then also we help you identify resources to help properly classify those workers. And of course, every situation, every business is different. So what you might have a one shop, you may not have another salon. So that was, we always ask and interview the employees or the workers to make sure that we have all the facts before we make a final determination. Okay, we're going to hear some reasons why we should properly classify workers. Number one, of course, is promote fair competition. We know there's lots of businesses, just not in San Diego County, but in the state of California. And we hear it all the time when we go and audit businesses or employers come to the office to have a conference with myself or the supervisor. And, well, this ABC salon is not reporting their workers, right? We hear it all the time. So part of EDD's job is not to penalize the employers, but to properly classify those workers. If they are independent contractors, then we're more than happy to classify them as such. But we see a lot where the workers are actually working as employees and the employer is actually misclassifying those workers. So we see that quite often. Safeguard workers' rights, like the director, EDD, of course, is part of our branch of unemployment insurance and the disability insurance. So it really is, as employers, when we come and audit, they feel like we're penalizing them, or, why are you here? You don't go to the shop down the street, right? We hear it all the time. But really is, and our directors, our EDD's mission is to promote and safeguard those workers' rights. Avoiding investigations due to workers' claims or worker and competitor informants. Wow, that sounds so powerful, right? Workers' claims, of course, it's through other, like myself and the other agencies, workers' compensation, it's a big thing. But worker and competitor informants, what we get the question asked all the time about how do we choose employers to, businesses to get audited? Of course, it's just random. And then some, of course, as we know, we work with UI and the disability insurance very closely. And when the worker is misclassified and happens to, get laid off or they get hurt on the job, they can either go to the unemployment insurance office or the disability insurance office and file for a claim. If you're not reporting those wages and you're holding the worker to be an independent contractor by error or on purpose, then we start an investigation because we want to ensure that the worker does not get penalized for the employer misclassifying them as an independent contractor. So that's for the worker and the competitor informants. We do have an EDD whistleblower hotline that it goes directly to Sacramento, where employers call and inform us or give us tips on employers that are not, properly classifying or not doing the right thing. So those are some of the ways that we issue, you receive a letter and then the books and records that you needed to, for the auditor to perform the audit. But none of our audits are by surprise. We always have a letter and then an appointment is scheduled that's convenient for both you and the auditor. Avoid additional taxes, penalties, and interest, of course. As part of our enforcement, if you do misclassify workers, there are penalties, of course, and then we'll go through, the presentation. But taxes and the penalties, of course, are huge. We charge for back taxes, including personal income tax, and then our penalties tend to be 15% minimum, and then they go up to 50% if you find fraud or negligence on part of the employer. And protect from possible revocation of your state or local licenses. We work closely also with the Contractor State License Board, where if you do have taxes unpaid, then we can hold your contractor's license. So there's just different licenses that is not, of course, appropriate here, but that's what they mean by these licenses. So there's just really are a lot of reasons to properly classify your workers. And with that, I'll pass it over to Gina.
So thank you. So we just wanted to clarify that sometimes the reason for misclassification example that you don't want to, because if you look, especially on SDI, if you correctly classify worker as employee, you're automatically withholding that for the employee. However, if you're misclassify the worker as an independent contractor and they should be an employee, now the employer is responsible for paying for that SDI since it wasn't automatically withheld prior. And also, if you didn't issue earnings statements, which you should be, you could also be potentially liable for the personal income tax withhold if you didn't issue maybe a 1099 or a W-2 or any work statements at all. And that's not including the penalty and interest. So see the difference between the two. So that's why it is important to correctly classify the worker. So like Lorena previously said, we will be going over employees, common law, statutory, and independent contractors. So common law employee, an individual who performs services for you and you have the right to control the manner and means of how they do their work. And now, the right is bold because whether or not you exercise that right is up to you, but you have the right to control the manner. Independent contractor is an individual who performs services for you who is not a common law or statutory employee. So, as we said before, the right of the principal to control the manner and means of accomplishing a desired result. The right to discharge a worker at will is strong evidence of the right to control. So these are some common law factors, which we do have handouts of the DD 231, as well as the other one, the Barbering Cosmetology, but here's some of the employee versus independent contractor. The employee has no separately established business. An independent contractor would have a separately established business. Supervision, the employee follows procedures. An independent contractor has their own methods of performing services. And then they kind of goes on as far as extent of the actual control. Employee, the owner sets the work schedule. Independent contractor, worker sets the schedule. And as well as property loss, employee, no investment or financial risk, as well as independent contractor, investment and financial risk they do have. So here we're referring back to the Barbering Cosmetology worksheet. We do have some in the back. And there's a long list of elements that we look at. I do want to read the evidence of the independent contractor for number 1 because that kind of goes into detail. An independent contractor, the licensed professional performs his or her service independent of the principal's policies, rules, or procedures of conduct. The licensed professional establishes his or her own hours of work, sets his or her own prices, directly collects payments from his or her customers, directly schedules his or her appointments, personally resolves any customer complaints related to his or her services, makes refunds to customers from his or her funds, and determines his or own manner of dress. The licensed professional is not required to sell the principal's retail items. These may not always follow every policy that you guys have, however, these are some of the main determinations that we look as far as independent contractor. Other ones are supervision on the job, as well as meetings. So an independent contractor, the licensed professional is not expected to attend any meetings, and however, if they do not attend any meetings, there's no repercussion for not attending the meetings. An employee, they do have to attend the meetings. So there's some differences. The work schedule, the licensed professional sets his or own hours of work. The licensed professional makes their own appointments. And then the licensed professional sets his or own prices, directly collects payments from his or her customers, personally resolves any customer complaints related to his or her services. So like I said, most of these kind of are repetitive, but in the back we do have the handout that looks over all of the elements that we look at. And what I do want to reiterate is the written contract of agreement. We see a lot of contracts, however the contracts in itself can be very controlling. So if you look at this last part, it says the element carries medium weight. Written agreements do not necessarily depict the actual relationship. The actual practices of the parties and a relationship are more important than the wording of an agreement. So what we're going to look at is, you may have a contract, but we're going to look at the actual relationship between the two. By that, we're going to talk to the employers, we're going to talk to the independent contractors, and we're not just going to talk to one independent contractor, we're going to try to talk to several independent contractors. And with EDD, the burden of proof is on the employer, so we do try to work with you as far as getting the 1099 recipients' informations or the W-2 information as well. So we do want to work with you, and we do want to clear these individuals if we can, so we want to get the contact information from you guys. And as previously said in a previous slide, the right to terminate the relationship carries great weight. So again, which was on a previous slide, engagement in a distinct business. So does this person just work for you, or does this person work for other individuals? And again, working for other individuals, they may as well do, but we're going to look at each relationship separately. So when they may work for another place, but their relationship might be different than the relationship with your guys's. So as far as statutory employee, this is mostly most of the employers. Examples include corporate officers. If your business is a corporation, corporate officers are statutory employees. Sometimes individuals forget about that. Unlicensed contractors, and then certain limited liability company. If you're an LLC, but you're operating as when you file your federal and state tax returns as a corporation, you are automatically a corporate officer, which means you should automatically be on the payroll. Here are other resources, which refer to those previous ones, the DD-231 SE for statutory employees, and the DD-231 for payments to corporate officers. Here, like we said, additional resources. All of our resources can be found on our edd.ca.gov website under payroll taxes, and you can see all of them there. And then we do have services for business, effective last year with AB 1245. Any businesses with 10 or more employees were responsible to file, and you filed through our e-services. Effective 1/1/18, all employers will now have to register and pay their payroll returns, as well as submit them through e-services. So don't get penalized for that. That is something that has been effective and will be effective for all workers and employers effective 1/1/18. And so as far as these services businesses, these are some of the features we have. You can register for an employer account, file returns and reports online, make payments, view either account information. With a nice thing that they do have is if there's something that needs immediate attention, it's in bold that you need to take action, whether you have a balance, whether you forgot to file a return, and it does notify you if you missed something, and it'll let you know regarding that. And then that's pretty much it as far as our section.
Holly Wright of the Department of Industrial Relations Labor Commissioner's Office discussed appropriately informing and paying your employee.
So at the Labor Commissioner's Office, we are in charge of making sure employers are in compliance with wage and hour laws and making sure employees are paid what they are entitled to be paid. There are different types of wages for employees and individuals. They consist of commission, hourly, minimum wage, overtime, piece rate, and salary. Commission wages are paid when an employee is selling a product. So that would not be necessarily considered, okay, like I always use this example, I get my nails done. So the individual that performs the service of doing my nails by my fill, that a lot of time is referred to as commission wages. However, in reality, that's actually a piece rate wage because they're getting paid a set amount just to put my nails on. They're not actually selling me anything. Regarding hourly wage, all employees are entitled to at least minimum wage, which is $10 per hour for all employers with 25 employees or less. 26 employees or more is $10.50 per hour. And overtime, any individual that's working more than 8 hours in a day or 40 hours in a week is entitled to time and a half their regularly paid rate. Also, the piece rate we're going to go over, there's a sample that I have. Piece rate is when you pay for a specific amount, such as a roofer gets paid, let's say, $1 per square foot of roof that they tear down, or in your instance, a manicurist gets paid $5 off of a $10 manicure, okay? And then salary is a set amount of wages that an employee is paid. Commission wages, I have Labor Code Section 204.1, which shows, like I stated, that it's based on the sale of an item. It's and based on the amount of value thereof. Also regarding minimum wage, on our website, we have the posters that employers are to post, as well as the amounts of the minimum wages that are going up. I have also brought with me today in the back, after we've done all of our presentations, I'll be at our back table, and I have brought the minimum wage postings that all employers are required to have, and I have those today for you. So here's information, sorry, keep by the mic. Here's information regarding the minimum wage as it goes up. Going into piece rate wages. So for piece rate wages, when an individual is paid on a piece rate basis, they are entitled to be paid for their rest periods because rest periods are considered on-time work. So an average employee working 8 hours per day is going to be entitled to 2 rest periods per day. If they are paid on a piece rate basis, those rest periods have to be calculated to determine what that amount needs to be paid for their rest periods. And I'm going to go over and show you how to do that calculation. And I have also brought an FAQ page on our website that shows the many different ways in which we calculate the piece rate rest period. And I also have those with me today. And the piece rate rest period can never be less than minimum wage. So it's going to be the higher of the two. So whether or not it's minimum wage or when you divide it out, it may be $12, you'd pay the $12 rather than the $10. Here's the piece rate calculation. Like I said last time, I thought it was really cool when I had these come up one at a time, but I realize it's easier to show you exactly how to do this all at once. So when you're calculating the rest period for piece rate wages, you have to actually take out the amount of time the employee spends on their rest period to determine how much they're owed for those rest period wages during a certain week when they're paid on a piece rate basis. So in my example here, I have a piece rate employee that works 5 days a week, and they work 8:30 to 4 with a 30-minute meal period. A meal period is actually unpaid, so you don't need to worry about calculating that in if an employee is paid by piece rate. Just the rest periods are entitled to pay. So this employee takes 2 10-minute rest periods per day for a total of 20 minutes per day over 5 days per week. Now, the amount of time that the employee is assigned to piece rate work, it's the whole entire week of 40 hours. So what we have to determine is actually out of those 40 hours, how much time they actually spent performing the work outside of the rest periods. So in order to do that, that's where we take the 100 minutes that they spent the 5 days per week at 20 minutes each day, divide that by 60 minutes, which is 1.67 hours they spent on rest periods. So that is the part we're going to have to calculate that they're owed the wages for. Then we take the total number of hours they worked, which is 40, subtract the 1.67 hours, which then in turn gives us 38.33 hours that the employee actually worked. The employee was paid $500 for their piece rate wages for that week, and we're going to take the $500, divide that by the 38.33 hours that they worked, because we're determining our hourly rate based solely on the amount of time that they spent working. So we come up with an hourly rate of $13.04. Then we take our $13.04 per hour and multiply that by the amount of time they spent on their rest periods, which is the 1.67 hours. For a total of $21.78. So we then in turn take the $500 that they made for that week for the piece rate wages and add the $21.78 that they made during their rest period time for a total payment of $521.78. And again, this calculation is only done if individuals are being paid on a piece rate basis. That means per type of work that they are doing. If they're paid a flat hourly rate, this would not be relevant. But like I stated, many individuals will pay on a piece rate basis. And again, that was a lot of math I went over with you. We have many samples on our website. Another item that we take a look at from the Labor Commissioner's Office are posters that are required by all employers to be posted. These posters are free on our website. Many times we see employers that have the really pretty laminated posters that they have posted that they've either purchased from their payroll company, or like sometimes Costco will sell them at the beginning of the year. You can buy those really pretty ones, or you can print them for free right off of our website. And so here is a list of the required postings.
Brandon Hart and Patrick Corcoran from Cal OSHA explained how to create a safe and healthy workplace, and also outlined the activities of the Cal OSHA Consultation Unit and its value to employers.
I oversee a few units within Cal OSHA, and Patrick I brought with me is from Consultation, a very important person that you guys would like to get familiar with probably towards the end of this meeting.
We all sit by the phone and wait for you to call us and ask us to help you. All right, so there are about 50 consultation engineers around the state, scientists and engineers, that are sent out by their manager to help employers. And as this slide indicates, it's free. Well, we try not to emphasize the free part, and I'll get to that in a second. It's confidential and it's independent of enforcement. In other words, we're going to come out there, enforcement's not going to know we're out there. We're going to generate a report, and we will not tell anybody that we were there. You can also limit the scope of the consultation services visit, so that if you have a new process that you're concerned about, hey, we're using this new chemical, can you come out and assess this? We'll just stick to that one thing. Now, we are supposed to look at a health and safety management system everywhere we go, and I know you probably know that all employers in the state of California are required to have a injury and illness prevention plan. It doesn't have to be called that, but it's a health and safety program that basically says, what are the hazards that my employees are exposed to and how do I control them? Right, so we'll evaluate that and walk through your job site and look for hazards. So you can, we have initial visits, we can come back and do training and assistance where we just train your employees on a particular topic. And again, this service, it says free, but your taxes are already paying for it. We get money from the federal government. 90% of the consultation branch's budget, it comes from the federal government. And so they pay us to go out and help small businesses. And we go to about 2,200 businesses a year and help them get into compliance with OSHA regulations. We don't do a lot of advertising. We don't have a huge advertising budget. You have to call us. That's the deal. So here is the phone number and the website for Cal OSHA's consultation service. Again, we're a separate branch from Cal OSHA Enforcement, and we have folks that are sitting there waiting by the phone. Of course, there are a couple of caveats. In your industry, there's always this question about whether or not the people that work in your building are independent contractors or employees, right? We at Cal OSHA only have jurisdiction over those of you that have employees, not when you have independent contractors. And so we can't come out to your job site if there are no employees. That's just, we get paid to do certain things, and like Brandon said, our jurisdiction is only over places of employment.
We do have the educational materials on our website for you. It's available. And we do have our consultation branch that is there to assist you as an employer prior to having a workplace accident. And so I would encourage you to take advantage of those resources that are available to you. If you do want some information with regards to our educational materials, that can be found under www.dir.ca.gov/DOSH, DOSH. And that's our website at Cal OSHA, and you can find the publications on there as well. So, it really is a blended Cal OSHA. We do have strong enforcement to protect the workers, but it's also a partnership with our employers as well through the educational process. And so I would encourage you to take advantage of that. Thank you.
For more information, visit www.barbercosmo.ca.gov and download our booklet, Understanding Your Workers' Rights and Responsibilities, from the homepage, or click on the Cal Safe Salon button.